Well, hello there, all you marvelous people, and welcome back to Africa. My name is Will. This is An Ecologist Plays, the channel where we're learning more about nature by playing games, and we are back here in the Vurhonga Savanna map of the Hunter Call of the Wild. Now, we have a mission there to harvest a Cape buffalo that was downed by the King 470 BD in the specific area of the map here. And if we go and have a look, that weapon is here. There it is, the King 470 DB Zenith, but it costs $90,000. And yeah, I've got like $537. So that is obviously not happening at the moment, which means we're going to do a different mission. So we did last time finally shoot a buffalo with the bow, which surprisingly worked. But we are going to try something else. Let's go and spot some side-striped jackals and some hares. Okay, now we are in the right area. We are on the Vurhonga Plateau, so we're right up here. So the plateau obviously is all the way around here. Since you can see here the relief lines, it goes quite steep up here. They're quite close to one another. So each line, of course, represents a climb, I think 10 meters more or less, from one line to another. So obviously it's quite steep up here, and then this area is relatively flat. Not extremely flat, but relatively flat. What's that little hill over there? That's that central hill over there. Okay. The plateau is going to go all around this hill. I think heading a little bit into this direction, we should be able to find some side-striped jackal. They do like more wooded areas, both in reality and in the game. They, of course, as we've mentioned before, are a bit more of an omnivorous species. They will be eating a lot of animals, so scavenging, but also eating fruit when available. The scrub hares, of course, just being completely herbivorous. Now, the idea with this mission is that we are here to control the number of scrub hares on the reserve, because apparently there are too many. Now, the question then is, too many according to whom? Because we, as humans, like to have some kind of stability in nature, but in reality, very often nature fluctuates. There will be times when the hare populations are out of control, and then predators will increase in number, as these jackals have done. And those jackals will then kind of control the number of hares again, until they, of course, have decreased in number so much that the hare population cannot support the predator population. And then the predators will start dying, and then the hare population will fluctuate, go up again. And it kind of fluctuates. It's not as stable as we as humans tend to want nature. And that's alright. It doesn't have to be this stable system. My grandfather here wants us to go and control the number of scrub hares on the reserve, and I suspect then also the side-striped jackal control their numbers as well, so that they don't starve to death. That is, unfortunately, nature. Now, of course, if there were more large predators, more birds of prey, you would most likely have found... Ah, of course they're going to run. I spotted them too late. There's one. There's still one there. Ooh, we can drop down. Take out some springbuck while we are here. But as I was saying, if there were more birds of prey, those birds of prey would actually have controlled the scrub hare population quite well. So we're just going to try and get that one springbuck that was over there to come a little bit closer. There should be one that is closer though, because there was... Oh, there we go. Oh, there are quite a few here. You can see them pronking though. That's when, of course... Oh. That's one. When they pronk like they did there, that, of course, is the way for them to show to predators that, listen, I am extremely fit. Do not go after me. You're just going to be wasting your time. Springbuck do have excellent eyesight. They would really be able to see me crawling along here. I am in my little savannah pack. I would not be hiding very well from these guys. But anyway, you see that one is standing so nicely. Nice broadside shot. There was a hit, but I think that was a very poor hit. Okay, and now all the springbuck are gone from this area. So we're just going to walk normally. Bow hunting really is a lot of fun, especially if you can actually get close enough. Really a nice way of taking down some animals here. It's silent, it's surprisingly quick. And if you've got the right arrows, it's great. But as I was saying, with springbuck, when they're pronking, their forelegs are stiff and they jump up and down, as we briefly saw there, quite in the distance, but we saw that with the springbuck there. That, of course, then does show that, listen, I am extremely fit. Don't even waste your time coming after me because you're not going to be able to catch me. Look how fit I am. I can jump very high. Now, one could also argue that it is possible that they are doing that so that other members of the herd can also see that, first of all, listen, there's danger here. But they also do this if there isn't a danger necessarily in the area. It is also perhaps a way for a whole bunch of them to show to others that, listen, look at me, I am very fit. It's like going to the gym and flexing, I guess. So no vital organ hit with this one, unfortunately, but that's all right. Would have been a silver otherwise. Hey, I've harvested an animal in every sub-region in the Vurhonga Savanna. So this plateau area was the last outstanding one. Okay, and there's a bronze again. No vital organ hit. Would have been another silver. But that's all right. We still got our 2 springbuck. Now we need 90,000 cash in order to afford that rifle, which apparently is the strongest one for large game such as the Cape Buffalo and the Water Buffalo. So we are going to try and get it, but oh wow, it's going to take a while. Okay, so let's see if we can actually, in this wooded area, get a side-striped jackal to come and say hello to us. And we are going to try and get it to come closer by using the jackrabbit caller, which imitates a little animal that has been caught by a predator. And now, of course, scavengers, in theory, would also be coming close to come and investigate to see if it's an easy meal or not. Now, that is used in research with predators in particular to check the predator density. If you want to have a whole bunch of individuals coming closer, or if you want to tag them, perhaps if you want to radio collar some spotted hyenas in particular, oh, they apparently come closer towards these calls like it's going out of fashion. Usually you don't play like this necessarily. Many researchers actually play the recordings of an animal that has been caught by a predator. So they would of course be playing those distress calls that had been recorded, and then the animals, the predators, come closer quite nicely. But we are using the caller over here, which also kind of simulates those sounds, those distressed sounds of an animal. Quite a few springbuck out over there as well. There's a nice one. That's potentially gold. On the way, who knows? Maybe we'll find a side-striped jackal and or scrub hare somewhere around here. So grandfather says their population has been booming, and yet we have not yet seen one. But then again, absence of proof is not proof of absence. Okay, that's still mating call. That's alright. I thought maybe that is actually an alarm call. Of course, animals do give different types of calls, different alarm. The sounds are very different for an alarm call versus a mating call. Of course, the wide open road is right between us and them. You know what? We are going to hide in the bushes right over here and use the caller, and hopefully some of them at least come closer. Okay, if we are lying down here, we are completely invisible, as signified by that little line at the bottom there being small and grayed out. So, let's see if we can call them closer. Now, when Nick and I play multiplayer here, it's very nice. One of us would be hiding in the bushes here, one will be spotting from higher up, where they have a clear view to see what the antelope are actually doing. Now, however, I have to do this alone. Oh, here they come. I don't really want a full frontal one here. So no little Frickie over here has been sleeping. They don't know why. She's sleeping, actually, not Frickie. It'll be like... Ah! Just ran straight over me. Didn't even know I was here. Unfortunately, yes, the hooves are extremely sharp and would do quite a bit of damage to a person. Okay, they are calm. Okay, don't go away. Come on. Come back. Now they're going to flee because I'm running, but that's... Oh, there's one there. Oh, but that's the... There's a black springbuck over there as well. And we are here to remove the color morphs as well. As you remember from last time, these color morphs that we see, that we have in the game here, have been bred by humans. So they've been basically inbred severely, and we are here to remove them from the population so that the population, at least in theory, would be more genetically diverse. Anyway, here's our black springbuck that we'll be able to have a good look at now. So there we go. The black springbuck was probably the first color morph I've ever seen in my life. Them along with the white springbuck. I believe the black springbuck here is what we call melanistic. And oh yeah, I just shot this leg off. Melanistic, meaning that there's a superabundance of the black pigment melanin in the fur and in the animal. Similar to what you have with the black leopard and black jaguar being those black panthers, also melanistic. So a superabundance of the melanin pigment. Now in nature, black springbuck are exceptionally rare, if ever you find them. It's not advantageous to the animal to be this color in the open savanna and karoo vegetation in which it occurs. So the gene for it may be present in the population, but as soon as one is born that is melanistic, it would be taken out and, well, spotted and probably captured and promptly eaten by predators very, very easily. Same with leucistic, which is the white springbuck, where there's a low amount or super low amount of, or absence in some cases, of melanin, giving it that white color. And very similar with the leucistic and the melanistic here, they would stand out against this dry background and their survivability is extremely low. And so we, as humans, decide, oh wow, these things are so rare. Look at this weird black springbuck. We must have it. And on my first, when I was 7 or 8 years old, I saw my first black springbuck on little game reserves all around, or game farms all around South Africa. When we were traveling around, we could see them. And that was quite cool to see back in the day. But then, of course, we had a whole bunch of other color morphs as well in the game reserves popping up. And those ones really not, I don't know. I don't see the appeal of them. Anyway, I've spoken about that before, and I'll probably speak about it again in life at some point or another. There goes the little hare. Spotted it. There we go.
I bet this scrub hare is thinking about making more babies right now. It's a wonder they have time for anything else. That's one half of this devilish duo overrunning the plateau. Now find the other.
It reminds me of a little joke about two rabbits that get chased by a pack of wolves, and they hide in a very dense thorn thicket. And the one rabbit turns to the other rabbit and says, so are we going to make a run for it, or wait until we outnumber the wolves? Basically rabbits and hares, very, very quick reproductive rates. Rabbits, I think, more than hares. Hares usually have one or so babies at a time, whereas rabbits will have many more than the hares at a time. The hares, of course, as mentioned before, will also have their babies out in the open. They just kind of make a little scrape in the ground and woof, there we go, baby born. Whereas rabbits will have them in tunnels underground, in little warrens, if you're looking at social species of rabbits, or just singly in little burrows to keep them safe. And that's because the hare babies are precocial. They'll be able to run very soon after birth, whereas the rabbit babies are pretty defenseless. They are altricial, meaning that they cannot take care of themselves after being born, or shortly after being born. Come on, I just want to spot a side-striped jackal. Is that too much to ask? I feel like there have been more side-striped jackals in the other parts of the reserve than here. There are definitely more springbuck here than side-striped jackals. Another leucistic one, and a normal one. Okay, I'm not having any luck spotting the side-striped jackals, so what I'm going to do is go and do a different mission. Let's look at wildebeest, right? And that will be way down there. Okay, in Zonga. Okay, it's not too far. Let's go there. Okay, 600 meters. Right over there, there is the lookout point. Now, in these mountainous areas, you would expect to find your black wildebeest rather than blue wildebeest. Blue wildebeest will be more out in the plains. So down below there, yes, you would find some blue wildebeest. They're more savanna species. The black wildebeest being more of the mountainous species. Now, as far as I know, in the new map coming out for the Call of the Hunter, the African map that's coming out, there will be both black and blue wildebeest in there. Now, the problem is that black and blue wildebeest, in South Africa at least, are not allowed to be put in the same area or in the same reserve. And that is a good reason for that we'll get to in a moment. I just want to check, are those are buffalo. Question is, do we want to take down another buffalo with our bow? This is a whole herd of females. 1, 2, 3, 4 females at least. I think there was another one in the tall grasses there that we can't see now, but just females. Yeah, there comes one. Is that a male or a female? That's the question. And that's another female. Wow. Whole herd of females. Okay, so they are going to be right between us and the lookout tower there. Anyway, as I was saying, the blue and black wildebeest are not allowed to be in the same reserve. Now, black wildebeest will only be found here in South Africa. They are endemic to South Africa, meaning that they don't occur anywhere else in the world. So that map technically would be set in South Africa, since we've got black and blue wildebeest. But by legislation, those two are not allowed to be on the same reserve. And it's not because of diseases spreading or anything like that between them. Instead, it's because those two species will breed with one another, which obviously is bad. It results in the dilution of the wildebeest, different species genetic material, particularly the black wildebeest, which has lower numbers than the blue wildebeest. And we're just keeping an eye out on these buffalo, because there they go. Just going to check to see whether any of them decide that it's a good idea to turn around and run at us. So, where you generally have the blue wildebeest, you don't have the black wildebeest. If looking at the distribution maps, they are also separated from one another. And it's weird, because we tend to think that, or the species classification is that a species is a group of individuals that's found in the same area at the same time and is able to produce viable offspring when they breed with one another. And with the blue and the black wildebeest, as far as I recall, they actually result in viable hybrids. The question then is, are they even different species? But they are. They are very, very different species. It's just that it happens that they can have viable offspring, which I think is quite weird. But anyway, there are a few species like that you can have viable hybrids with. And one example in South Africa also is the mallard duck, which is not indigenous to South Africa. That comes from the northern hemisphere. But the mallard duck hybridizes with our yellow-billed duck, our indigenous, one of our many indigenous duck species, also with our African black duck. But anyway, they hybridize with those and result in viable offspring. That then results in those hybrids breeding again with our indigenous species, and eventually the genetic material of our indigenous duck species really gets diluted with the genetics of the northern hemisphere mallard duck, which is horrible. Anyway, that happens. So yeah, let's have a look here. We technically already have this lookout point.
The Zonga is a mix of swampland and dry riverbeds. Drought has made the swamps muckier, and with the river running dry, a large herd of wildebeest have crossed into Vurhonga unobstructed. Wildebeest herds are usually transient, but right now we have too many wildebeest for the region to sustainably feed. Breeding season is incoming. They're not migrating quickly enough, even though they are running out of food. As the herd slowly starves, it will become volatile, and the risks of mass stampedes increase. Not good, boss. The danger of stampede makes hunting these wildebeest especially high risk. And what do we do in high-risk situations? We make preparations. Start by spotting a few wildebeest, bulls or cows, it doesn't matter. What matters is noting where they spend time. Accustom yourself to their behaviors.
Spot 3 different blue wildebeest in the Tonga. Okay. Somewhere in the Tonga there are apparently blue wildebeest. Now, my gut tells me it will be more to this side. I don't imagine it being by the riverbed over here. They do need to drink, so technically going to a water point would be a good idea. They are a water-dependent species. Anyway, what Grandad also said was that the blue wildebeest are usually transient, meaning that they are nomadic. They don't stay in one area for long, which makes sense. A lot of them will be moving around. But the problem is that with our reserves, our national parks, and all these protected areas, we have fenced-off areas, meaning that if food runs out, they're not able to move. Now, the Vurhonga map here, technically, I think the animals are able to move out of the reserve, which in South African reserves generally is not the case. But anyway, so in the map here, technically they would be moving off. Now, Grandad here has, yes, he's got some problems which he may be right about, but he's also got these problems that he may be wrong about. The wildebeest, yes, they are going to stuff up the veld to some extent, but they're also going to move away. As soon as food gets too low in abundance, they are going to move away. I would not have gone out and culled these wildebeest. They would have taken care of it themselves. They would have died as a result of starvation. And that is nature. That would feed a lot of the predators, the smaller predators, things like the side-striped jackal. So what we're actually trying to do here is we are playing God. We are trying to control what happens on this reserve. And this is a very man-made way of looking at nature. We have to make sure that the numbers don't get too high. So what if the numbers get too high? It's nature. Yes, Frikkie, I hear you. You see, again, Grandad here wants us to go and kill the blue wildebeest, but I haven't seen one. And he wanted us to kill springbuck earlier in this storyline. And again, there it took me so long to find enough springbuck to hunt. It was ridiculous. But that being said, keeping blue wildebeest on small reserves is a bit of a bugger up, to put it lightly. It's not the best idea, because they do have very destructive feeding habits. They tend to denude an area quite a bit. They tend to remove all the vegetation in an area quite a bit. And when they do that, the risk of erosion is high. It's a great chance that there's going to be some erosion taking place and the area is going to be degraded. But that's because people tend to put in a lot of wildebeest. They tend to want to have the little Serengeti ecosystem on their reserve, so they put in hundreds of them. Then those wildebeest are not able to migrate anywhere. In East Africa, the only reason there are so many wildebeest in the Serengeti area, in the Masai Mara, is because there's a large area, first of all, there's lots of food, and they are able to move between different areas during the different seasons. In little reserves that are fenced off, they can't do that. So they end up overutilizing the vegetation. And that obviously is bad. Okay, we are doing apparently a different quest by following or finding lesser kudu tracks. Well, we can try and do this one, where we have to do the Maritz test. We've got to get a lesser kudu. We've got to harvest a lesser kudu and hopefully get a nice quick kill bonus. I've got no idea. There was one that gave a warning call earlier. I don't know where it was, whether it is even still in the area. But we are in typical kudu habitat, where they would have a lot of trees to browse on. They are typical browsers. They eat the leaves of trees and shrubs. So lots of food for them here. Nice and relatively dense. What comes here? Here comes something. It's a hare. Okay, I had the wrong bow out, but anyway. I was like, what on earth is hopping here towards me? Huh. I thought that was a very, 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 very small little lesser kudu. That's not a lesser kudu, that's a lesser kudu. But yeah, as I was saying, the only reason you can support so many wildebeest in the Masai Mara, the Serengeti system, is because they have the opportunity to move from one area to another in the different seasons. If one area starts running out of food, they can migrate to the next area. And these massive herds can then move all along. They're just constantly feeding as they are doing so. Is that wildebeest or gemsbuck? What is up there? That is a blue wildebeest. Finally found one.
The wildebeest are born runners.
Yes, they are.
Calves fall out of their mothers, and in a few minutes, they're off running with the herd. Spot a few more before they bolt.
However, that is the only one, it seems, in that herd. It's a herd of one. Shame. That's not a herd. That's just a solitary wildebeest. At least we do know that they are in the area, and hopefully we'll have better luck spotting them all next time. So just a reminder that in the community tab, there is of course the poll there to vote for which map I should be doing after the Vurhonga Savanna map. The 5 latest maps are listed as options there. So go and vote for which one you would like to see me do next. And I think that is where we are going to call it a day, everybody. So thank you once again for joining me on our little adventure here. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something as well. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And then stay safe, everybody. I'll see you all soon. Bye.